councillors and city councillors, and of course members of administration that have put this document together. And we certainly recognize that, and so your attendance today is very valuable. I want to say, Mr. Deputy Mayor, how much I appreciate the work that has gone into the document itself. We're going to go through some procedural rules here in a little bit, but it's important to recognize that today we're only, as if that was a minor thing, only doing a public hearing. We're not proceeding to any readings today. That will be the purview of each council. The county council will consider second and third readings. The city council will consider second and third readings. And in fact, what we have, I don't know, I'm going to go to Madam Clerk, perhaps a historical event where this is actually a special meeting of Red Deer City Council, a special meeting of Red Deer County Council, accumulating in a public hearing. Have we ever done that before, Madam City Clerk? County Clerk, sorry. Old habits.
Through the CAOs to the mayors. We do believe that this occurred 17 years ago. So it has been quite a period of time. And on our end, Mr. Herzberg is the only one of us who's ever participated in this process before.
Oh.
So
you know,
it is a historic day on our end.
We may have to go to county manager for historical context. I really did think, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that we were new and unique today. So it is now my privilege, everyone, to call to order the meeting of Red Deer City Council. So I've called that to order, and over to you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ken. Mayor Wood sends his regrets today. He was unable to attend. So I will be calling the meeting to order for Red Deer County Council. And with that, both councils have jointly adopted meeting procedures for use in today's public hearing, which were advertised in conjunction with the public hearing notification. There have been some minor modifications to the rules of procedure as presented in the agenda, and I don't know if administration is presenting those. No, okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Deputy. Can I please, council, I'm speaking to my council, can I please get a motion to amend the rules of procedure as presented in the agenda? So we're doing this by hand, so if I could get a Councillor Buruma, thank you, and Councillor Jeffries, thank you. All in favor? Council, thank you. None opposed, thank you. Mr. Deputy.
Yes, I would also like to ask County Council if I can get a motion to amend the rules of procedure as presented. Councillor Kennett, all those in favor? And that is everyone. So that motion is carried. For the joint public hearing process, the public hearing will be called to order. Administration will introduce the matter, and members of council may ask administration questions regarding their report. We will then invite members of the public forward to speak to the matter until everyone has had the opportunity to speak. Members of council will be invited to ask the members of the public any questions that they may have. Once all members of the public have spoke to council, we may ask questions of administration to address any matters raised during the public hearing. The chairs will then declare the public hearing closed, and this will end the opportunity for anyone to provide new information on the matter. This matter will not be considered today, as Mayor Ken already alluded to. Each council is scheduled to consider second reading at their next regular council meetings. Council members will not be able to receive any additional information between the close of the public hearing and voting on the bylaw. This includes any additional information from public or administration.
Thank you for that, Mr. Deputy. And just for the benefit of both councils, we're going to take questions in the order of the shoe, basically, because we're not using a sort of a monitored approach today. And I know Councillor Lee is on his way. We expect him very, very shortly to join us. I've just been informed that he is on his way. And so, welcome to the public hearing. Today, we will be having a joint public hearing for the City of Red Deer Bylaw 3733, 2025, and Red Deer County Bylaw number 1008, 2025, regarding the Red Deer Intermunicipal Development Plan. We jointly call to order the joint public hearing for the City of Red Deer and Red Deer County. And we will begin the public hearing with a presentation from administration. Gentlemen, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Good afternoon, councils. I'm excited to be here for this joint public hearing. As we said, the last one has happened 17 years ago, and so this is my first time equally to be able to participate in one of these. I'd like to start off by expressing my gratitude to both the past and the current members of the RCC who've worked diligently on this document over the last few years, as well as to all the staff in both administrations who've supported its development. The purpose of today's meeting is to hold a joint public hearing for both the county and the city bylaws that have both received first reading for the adoption of a new shared intermunicipal development plan, or an IDP. So for viewing public's awareness, the Municipal Government Act requires all municipalities that share a common boundary to adopt an IDP. This document is the highest statutory document for both municipalities, sitting below our joint intermunicipal collaboration framework, or ICF, and above our respective municipal development plans, which is also MDP. An IDP must address the future land use and development, transportation, environmental matters, intermunicipal programs, or any other matters relating to the physical, social, and economic development that the municipal councils consider necessary. It must also include a conflict resolution process, a procedure to amend or repeal the plan, as well as provisions related to the administration of the plan. The city's and county's current IDP was adopted in 2007 and was last amended in 2015. This shared IDP has served the municipalities well, but is no longer sufficiently meeting our collective needs. So therefore, in 2002, following the adoption of the ICF, the municipalities, through the RCC, started the process of reviewing our current IDP. And with annexation on the horizon in 2023, it was quickly decided that a new IDP was needed. So the adoption of this IDP will fulfill a non-binding agreement that our municipalities agreed to during the negotiations of our most recent annexation. The current IDP is a reflection of its time and outlined the needs of both municipalities leading into what was a major annexation in 2009. This new IDP places an emphasis on partnership, collaboration, and cooperation. Our municipalities want to better work together, and the new IDP provides that framework and the policies needed to be able to do so. So in order to ensure there was public feedback in the development of the IDP, the draft IDP was presented to the general public in 2 open houses, as well as through drop-in engagements at both the City Hall and as well as here at the county, Red Deer County Center. Additionally, those that were unable to attend in person, an online survey was made available for a little over a month. We also provided Indigenous engagement that was facilitated by Pipiguan Pedaguan, and we quickly learned that the draft IDP was not adequately reflecting Indigenous needs or Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action. So following this, administration and the mayors participated in additional engagement to better understand what should change in the IDP. So the top themes from the general public engagement were protecting agricultural lands and the natural environment, sustainable and future-focused growth, coordinated economic development and infrastructure, innovative land use and mixed density and development, inclusivity, Indigenous engagement and cultural recognition, thoughtful annexation and urban expansion, as well as enhanced transportation and trail connectivity. The key themes from the Indigenous engagement were transparency and relationship building, truth and reconciliation commitments, space for Indigenous peoples, environment and cultural preservation, as well as governance to governance engagement. We'll now walk you through the contents of the IDP. The new IDP has a land acknowledgement in Section 2, recognizing the Indigenous ancestral lands of Treaty 6 and Treaty 7, as well as the importance as a historic Métis gathering site. This is not in our current IDP. Section 3 of the IDP includes a new vision, principles, and goals that were developed by the RCC at the onset of the project. The visions, principles, and goals are focused on working together on issues of mutual interest and to foster prosperity, but also to reflect the autonomy and the character of each of our municipalities. The vision, goals, and principles are used to frame and guide the development of the policies throughout the new IDP. The principles are focused on mutual respect and understanding, a collaborative mindset and open communications, being focused on the Red Deer region, having equal voices, but also recognizing that there might be some trade-offs. And finally, before I pass it over to my colleague, Mr. Barr, the goals in the IDP were to provide clear direction for future growth, the coordination of infrastructure and services, and to attract new businesses and residents to our region, and for the plan to be adaptive and future-ready.
Let's try that again. So we're just going to take you through a few of these sections. Section 4 speaks to the IDP boundary itself. Compared to the previous or the current IDP, the boundary has been adjusted just slightly. The total area was reduced a little bit by roughly a full section on east, south, and west sides of the plan area. We also, when we were considering that, we decided we wanted to keep in Poplar Ridge within the plan area. It seemed like it was important, otherwise we're going to cut it in half almost. This is just comparing the two maps, so not a whole lot of difference. The colors are kind of changed for sure, so a few notable changes here, and we'll speak to that as well in further slides. Is we changed out the collaboration or collaborative planning area to the agricultural rural planning area. The agriculture open space area has now been removed, and it's pulled into that ag open space area. The growth areas themselves have not changed, just the boundary itself has shrunk by, like I said, about a full quarter section or a full section all the way around. In terms of the growth area, which is highlighted here in red in the hatched area, the IDP recognizes and supports ag uses as it does currently. Non-agricultural subdivision and development is discouraged within this area. Existing area structure plans will continue to be recognized, and new area structure plans and area redevelopment plans will be discouraged unless, of course, it's mutual benefit to both municipalities. Section 5 gets into land use itself. The county growth areas are recognized here as well in the red hatched areas. Neither of these have changed in this iteration of the IDP. Previous restrictions on our density, though, have been, and the building height have been removed in this plan. The agricultural rural area, we're recognizing and supporting ag uses within these areas. Development subdivision in accordance with the MDP, the county's MDP that is. As stated before, new area structure plans and area redevelopment plans will be discouraged unless they're of benefit to both municipalities. All existing plans within the area are recognized and will continue to be. We have a new section. Section 6 speaks to truth and reconciliation. This basically is recognizing the Truth and Reconciliations Commission's 94 calls to action. There's emphasis on the importance of governance to governance engagement, which we heard through the engagement process that we had with the Indigenous community. There's commitment to protecting cultural spaces and natural environments that are important to the Indigenous community. And that further is illustrated in the identification of the Red Deer Industrial School and burial sites, as shown in this map to the right of. Section 7 speaks to services. So when we're talking services, we're speaking specifically about infrastructure, so water, sanitary, etc. It promotes the coordination of intermunicipal planning and provision of services, the provision of services through joint agreements included in the ICF, and supports the development of energy projects and infrastructure in the IDP area itself. Section 8 of the plan speaks to transportation. Map 4, which is illustrated here, communicates existing knowledge that we have in terms of our transportation routes and where specific points of connection in the future for large or highways connections to our so Highway 2 and 11, for instance, where those potential points could happen, access points. Cooperating and consulting with each other on transportation routes when applicable. And we may work together to develop trails in the IDP area as well. That was discussed during the RCC discussions. May develop a detailed transportation study, which we are currently working on with the city. In terms of Section 9, economic development, this section has been beefed up a little bit. We're recognizing collectively that we do compete in some areas, but there's opportunity to collaborate with each other to attract major investment. This is a bit of a departure from our existing IDP. We're in discussions about potentially a joint economic development area, looking at studying it here within the next 5 years and working together to identify lands that are suitable for large-scale development, facilitating access to a range of transportation modes where possible for that location, and identifying servicing requirements for this type of development, as well as within this section we'll be looking at, in terms of the study itself, what types of financial arrangements, et cetera, might be required, and some negotiation will obviously be required when we go down this road. Section 10 speaks to features and constraints. The map 5 here illustrated in this slide identifies features to be considered in future land use decisions. These features include water bodies, environmentally significant areas, CFOs with the MDSs that are, and that's minimum distance separators with that outer ring indicated here, as well as the Red Deer Regional Airport, some linear infrastructure, as well as the pipelines. That includes pipelines, transmission power lines, et cetera. Section 11 gets into urban expansion. And that is you, David. Thank you.
So Section 11 deals with future annexation. So the biggest change to the annexation policies was to better align our IDP with the Land and Property Right Tribunal's requirements, as well as the MGA requirements. So the Land and Property Rights Tribunal annexation principles are embedded in our IDP as an appendix in Section 14. So that's new within our IDP. So there's no longer a requirement for the city to maintain a minimum amount of developable land, and therefore future annexations will be guided by real growth requirements that is supported by current research at the time of the annexation. These changes also put the intermunicipal negotiations at the heart of an annexation, and so it's make sure that both of our municipalities are on the same page before we make an application to the Land and Property Rights Tribunal. Future annexations will still consider the historic and the recent annexation orders in the region when it comes to municipal compensation, as well as tax transition periods. Section 12 outlines the dispute resolution process. So this process is based on our current practice, where issues are discussed between the administrations, then to the RCC for a resolution. I hope our municipalities never need to escalate to the disagreement beyond the RCC, but if it does, we have that in place, and it outlines the requirements for joint council mediation as well as LPRT appeals as a last resort. Section 13 is the plan administration and focuses on the who's and how-tos, as I like to call it. The changes from the current IDP were on the administrative improvements, as well as to have clear and simple language to prevent the potential misinterpretation of some of the policies within the IDP. Our current one has a few policies in there that we read and we read again and we read again. We sit down in the room together and we just have a difficulty figuring out what we meant, 17 years ago. So we've hoped that we've improved the language around that. The new IDP also includes a review time frame for this IDP, which requires both municipalities to begin reviewing it within 10 years to start that process. This section also formalizes Council's Regional Collaboration Committee, as well as Administration's Joint Planning Committee. It also gives clear direction in the existing county that the existing county area structure plans will be recognized and continued to be implemented within the city growth area. The new IDP also adds some flexibility to the annual joint meeting. So still mandating you to meet every year, but in the latter half of the year rather than always in June, recognizing that it can sometimes be difficult to get us all together in a room in June. And the section also provides a clearer process for IDP amendments, particularly for members of the public. So right now in our current IDP, we don't have an outline process if somebody wants to make an amendment to the IDP. And so we now have a defined process in there for external people as well as for administration as well. Skip ahead one.
So speaking to communications, this application was referred to internal and external agencies for comments. All written comments were received at the time of the writing of this report are included in our agenda package. None of the comments received from external agencies were in opposition to the IDP. That said, we did receive a comment from Red Deer Regional River Naturalist stating some concerns regarding the extension of the linear park system and the lack of regulations in the IDP protecting natural capital, wildlife corridors, and waterways. The proposed bylaw was also advertised via county news, online posts on the county's website and social media prior to the public hearing date. The City of Red Deer has also advertised a public hearing in accordance with their processes as well. As part of the agenda, this report has been shared online, and direction in this matter will be included in the meeting minutes, which are published online and summarized in county news. Amendments, just a couple minor ones that we found, and we thought we had gone through this with a fine-tooth comb, but you always find something. So we had discovered two minor errors within the document, specifically section 13.10.2 of the draft states the ISDAB must require 7 members. Section 4.1 of the ISDAB bylaw that was introduced recently states the ISDAB shall consist of up to 11 members. Administration is therefore suggesting amending section 13.10.2 of the IDP to read the municipality's ISDAB bylaws must require at least a composition of 7 members consisting of yada, yada, yada. The second error is in the appendix, section 14.2. The calls to action referenced in the IDP. So under number 79, under that specific portion, commemoration, the term organizations should be removed at the beginning of that sentence. Again, 2 minor amendments, but wanted to get them correct.
Just for clarity, these amendments are only required to be done by Red Deer County. As the city was made aware of these errors before we went to first reading. So the city of Red Deer has adopted its version that has these changes already in, or sorry, I should say adopted, has given first reading to the version that already has these corrections. So it is only for Red Deer County Council.
Wow. Sensitive. So at this point, we'd like to hand this back to the mayors, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Just for the public's benefit now, we'll be going into what I call the administrative part of the public hearing, and we'll start that by inviting any members of councils, either councils, that has any questions for administration on the matter. So just in observing the horn, Councillor Moore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson, and welcome everybody here today. I just have a question on the annexation, as there was an annexation that happened in my division that I know Mr. Barr and Mr. Gardan are very aware of. With the new IDP, how would the process be different to what we experienced in 2023 to today? Thank you.
Through the mayors to both councils. So I think the biggest difference is that the discussion would first start at the RCC table, and I think that's the biggest opportunity for the RCC members to inform and have those discussions with their respective councils. And so that would be where that discussion would start. And so what that does is it gives us a good foundation for where we begin our negotiations. As otherwise, a lot of the other pieces would remain the same because we are following the Land and Property Rights Tribunal's requirements in terms of what our application requirements are and what they need to fulfill. So I think the biggest change is just that negotiation up front.
If I may, Mayor Johnson, to continue. So if the RCC could not come to an agreement on that, what would be the process? Because hopefully they could collaborate and decide yes or no. So would that be a dispute resolution situation?
Through the mayor to council, yes, that would be the worst case scenario, would be the dispute resolution process. Truly, the Land and Property Rights Tribunal does not want to hear from us. You know, when they receive applications that are contested, they usually tell the municipalities, go back and get your affairs in order and figure it out. So if there's a stalemate, it would be the dispute resolution process.
And if there was any influence from other levels of government, how do we deal with that and mitigate that?
Through the mayor to council, I don't know that I have a clear answer on that. Sorry.
Okay, I know it's a tough one, but I believe it's a real one because I experienced that. So
I would say, Councillor Moore, we never have conflicts with other government. Anyway, tongue in cheek. Thank you, Councillor Moore.
thank you.
I'm just going to go to my friend, Deputy. I see Councillor Weiches, but Councillor Weiches, you're up next. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you, Administration, for the presentation and the public for being here today. My question is also to Administration, and it's regarding the public comment that we received from the Red Deer River naturalists. What might the conversations or next steps and considerations look like with the extension of the park system and protecting wildlife and consideration of expansion of trails?
So through the mayor to Councillor Wenches. Yeah, again, it's a difficult one because with this IDP, we kind of raised everything, elevated things to a higher level and kind of downplayed a few things. When it comes to the linear trail system, that's something that we're going to be continuing to work on with the city. So right now, as I stated previously, we're talking about developing a transportation master plan with the city that will identify kind of connection points that come into the county. But again, where those trails are going to be, it kind of really depends to a large degree on future plans with the city and when they're annexing and et cetera, et cetera. What we tried to identify in this plan was areas that should be taken into consideration at the largest level. So we had the environmentally significant areas that are surrounding large water bodies, the largest being the Red Deer River. Some of their concerns that came up, as well as just some of these smaller tributaries, which of course are very important. There's no reason why we couldn't identify those within our mapping as well as things to be taken into consideration. But again, we will be working with the city in terms of locating and potentially identifying linear trail networks and protecting those going into the future. We're just not there yet.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. And considering that there's always a cost to what we want to do, is there opportunities to look to the provincial government for areas of funding that they might provide to counties and municipalities that work together in terms of our idea of connectivity for parks and trails?
I can take it. Through the mayors at councils. So yes, we most recently have collectively applied for the Northern and Regional Economic Development Grant. And so whenever there are grants that do come up at the provincial level, we certainly have a look at, see if they apply to our collaborative area. And we do capitalize on them when we can. I'll just further the comments from my colleague, Mr. Barr, is that another opportunity to start addressing some of these changes is that the RCC, so if this plan is adopted, it's not set in stone. the RCC at its next meeting could prioritize changes to the IDP and begin work on some of those amendments potentially.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Massier, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Good report, and I was on RCC and sat through this, so I think the document's in good shape and ready to move forward. But I think it was the transportation section. You used the word may. And I think in discussions, we always talk about the word may, must, should, might, who knows. The one that got me, though, is on the transportation one. It says we may work together, and yet then in the same sentence you said we are, because, and I think it's very important that we finish with the ring road study. And then on the trail one, it says we may work together, and I just heard in the report from Mr. Barr that we are or we will. So why would we use words like may in a document when, one, we're actively doing it, and B, I think we're committed to working together? Can't we use the word that we will then? Or do we not want to tie hands into the future? But I'll let you answer, and even in a general sense, why the word may is using versus will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Through the mayors to councils. So the may is in the document because we started this work on the document before we had the grant. I think may also works well is that it doesn't tie us to this one study that we've already engaged in, and we just haphazardly, the timing worked out well, where the IDP was nearing completion, and we know that we have, through the RCC, some of these collective needs of identifying some of the transportation and joint economic development opportunities in our region. So what I think the may still applies is that it could allow us to do more work as we move forward, because I would suspect that this first study is a high-level study and it may require more detailed studies.
Try again. There you go.
And would that hold for the trails then the same? For the use of may? I think you added both sentences in the book.
So I'll speak to that one as well. I mean, it's very much a reiteration of what David's getting into. It's those two are kind of tied together, and very much at the time when we were drafting this, we weren't quite there yet. So, it's very much along the lines that we would be working together, but it gets a bit tricky when we get to the point where we have a plan and then we have to figure out how that's going to be enacted. And so that's where it gets a little bit dicey. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. I think I had Councillor Jeffries and then Councillor Hyam.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you to both of you for your work on this plan. I'm going to go along the same line of questioning on the trails and the transportation and nature corridors, environmental pathways, if you will. I'm wondering about what you think of the timeline for that work to happen, and I guess how high a level are we looking at? I'm thinking about a more regional approach, much like you're thinking about perhaps for economic development region, but thinking a bit longer term. In 25 years, how will our pathway systems, our communities connect, whether it be by trail or by nature corridor or by pathway, river systems, tributaries? How do we work that into the overall vision, sort of a continuation of, if you will, of the Waskesiu Parks Plan, master plan that was developed in the 80s, 70s, 80s. I think having that higher level document is really important on how we both develop and grow in the future. And are you thinking, giving consideration to anything like that?
Through the mayors to councils. Nothing has been identified within the IDP at this point in time. And again, maybe I should come back to the may again, is that the may also requires a funding requirement from both municipalities. And so it is, if we are looking at a more broad regional approach, is that I think both councils would want that and give that direction to their individual RCC members, because the IDP puts in place the ability for us to work together, but it doesn't always identify everything that we plan to do together. So at this time, it's not identified outside of just the, as my colleague Mr. Barr was indicating, is the opportunities to capitalize on different transportation, be it both whether it's ring road or trails, and how they connect with our joint economic development opportunities is the limitations right now of that NRED study.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Weinschie's asked more specifically about the concerns of the Red Deer River naturalists that have been raised. what will happen with those? How does that feedback fit into this process?
So through the mayor to Councillor Jeffries. Yeah, these comments came in fairly late in the day, so we were sort of absorbing these and having a discussion about it today to see how we could actually work this in.
Think about it.
The existing IDP that we have right now is very much a document of the time. And this one, we're, like I was trying to get at as well, is we're elevating a little bit, not as much into the detail. That said, though, there's nothing saying that that we can't identify particular corridors, specific things that they were getting into, which was some of the tributaries and such. We would be doing that anyways through planning at the lower level. So that's where it was getting a little troubling, where with the existing one, it could kind of handcuff you to a certain degree if we don't have some of that flexibility. But there's nothing saying that we won't be working on these things and making sure that we are tying in and making sure that we are taking into consideration, the planning around those tributaries, et cetera. Some of that's already kind of like it's built in. So we'd have to take it into consideration when we're doing subdivision, and ER has to be pulled out of the equation. That's determined at that lower level. So I'm not sure if there's anything else can happen.
I can also jump in. So we collectively already also have the River Valley and Tributaries Parks concept plan that we both worked on in 2011. So that's the last time that we worked collectively on something that speaks to that, both from a trails perspective and a protection perspective for the tributaries and the river. And so maybe there's opportunity to update that plan or reinvigorate it. I know that it was one of the first plans I came across when I came to the city of Red Deer in 2011, because it had just finished up at that time. And so we do still use it. When we get planning referrals that are within the city boundary that are within those setbacks, is that we do refer to that plan, and I would assume our colleagues at the county do as well too. So we do have other plans in place together.
Thank you for shining the light on that plan. I kind of forgot that it was in existence. I was there. Just to follow up, if I might, Mayor Ken, so in part of the communication from Red Deer River Naturalists, they're concerned that we are downgrading protection for natural spaces. And if I hear Mr. Barr and Mr. Girardin correctly, not necessarily it comes in at a different level. Can you speak to that? Are we downgrading things? Are we being less fussy about how we grow and develop?
So through the mayor to Councillor Jeffries, I would argue that we are not. We wanted to, as part of this plan, identify things that we had not identified in the previous plan. And that's being at the highest level, our environmentally significant areas that we have done that study on this side. We haven't done the studies, or the study itself did not take into consideration the more ephemeral stuff, Waskesiu Creek. That might be happening at some point in the future, but at this point, it wasn't pertinent to that study at that time. But we were taking the information that we had. We wanted to make sure that that information was in the IDP, so that the county or the city, if and at some point they happen to annex, they have a pretty good idea of what we would consider an environmentally significant area and pull that into their own planning. So that's kind of how we addressed it, rather than just going straight at some of the more specific things that you're getting into.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll go to Councillor Hyam now. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Thank you very much. And Mr. Barr, Mr. Girardin, members of the RCC who have done so much work around this, thank you for your time and expertise. And members of the public who are here, grateful for your attendance. Mr. Mayors, I would like to ask about existing height and density restrictions that were removed from the proposed IDP. Could you please speak to both the rationale, I wasn't around when they were included, and the rationale currently for why they're proposed to be excluded?
Through the mayor and deputy mayor to councils. So I wasn't around when they were first put in, but my understanding was it was to provide some limitations as to how urban gasoline alley could become. But I think in the long term, we've realized that, you know, growth for both of us, or in either place, is good for the both of us. The limitations were, testing my memory, but I believe it's 3 buildings above 3 stories, I think is what it was. And so in reviewing this and looking at, you know, our new vision, principles, and goals, is that, and using that to help set our policy, is that there's no need for punitive policy in the IDP. And so we allow the county to grow how the county wants to grow, the same way they let us, the city, grow the way we want to grow within our boundary.
Excellent, thank you. So can you speak to, there's just absolutely no height or density restrictions in the current proposed?
Through the mayors to council, no, it would be defined by their own MDP, which would dictate growth within their area.
Excellent, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hyam. Council, are there any further questions?
Yeah, I had Councillor Kennett on this side, and then we can just carry around quick if you don't have questions.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Mayor Ken. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for being here. One of the questions I have is the difference between how it's the city growth area versus the agricultural rural area, and how the rules are affected between the 2 different areas prior to annexation, if there was one.
So through the mayor to Councillor Kennett, in terms of what's allowed within those particular areas, there's not a whole lot of difference when it comes to the city's growth area. What we're doing is identifying that area that is specifically identified for where the city could annex. Whereas the agricultural rural area is just outside of it. It's kind of almost like a buffer area. It gives the city some consideration as to what's happening within there. It gives them a bit of a heads up. But in terms of what happens within the ag rural area, it really defers mostly back to our municipal development plan. It's just a level of, I guess, not insurance, but communication, I guess, with the city. Allows them, it triggers communication with them and within that specific area.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Georgeson, Councillor Holzman, Councillor Baruma, Councillor DePaul.
Thanks for the report and everything. So I do have one question. I guess it would be on, you know, the area surrounding the density part. It's to annex any more land because they've already annexed some. I guess how far into the future would that be that they would be coming to annex some of this?
Through the mayor to council, we don't have an annexation on the horizon. We don't have any data to support an annexation in the near midterm. That could change depending on how the city grows. So at this point in time, we do not know when the next annexation will occur.
Okay, so the last annexation was just for the quarter or whatever. So, okay, yeah, that answers mine, I think.
Councillor Barnstable.
All right, thank you, councils. We now,
Sorry, Mayor
there's
Ken, Council-
forgive me, Councillor Moore, forgive me.
No problem, Mayor Johnson. I just have a question on the growth area and no ASPs or ARPs unless it's beneficial to both parties. Can you give me an example of what that would look like, please?
Through the mayor to Councillor Moore. So kind of referring back to our joint economic development area specifically. In that particular case, if we're looking at a large enough area, just an area in general that both of us are working together collaboratively on, that's a potential situation where we could require and need an area structure plan in place. So we don't want to prevent ourselves from able to do that within that area. So that is kind of mostly what we're getting at with that specific piece.
Sorry, and I'll also add, councillors, that the current IDP is it's a no, you can't. And so this is added language to give the council some flexibility to be able to work together. And again, that would probably happen at the RCC first, but it is to give councils some flexibility.
So just a question from residents' point of view, though, if council decided, for example, that an entrepreneurial venture would be mutually beneficial. Where do the residents fit in there? Because that would almost be that at RCC we can trump, the elected people can trump what the document says because they deem it mutually beneficial. So I'm struggling with that a little bit.
So through the mayor to Councillor Moore. So as with any planning exercise, I guess at the end of the day, I mean, council or the public's going to be involved. So we will have a public engagement, public input component to all of this. But it might start with the two communities working together, and then it goes out to the public. And if it's a hard no, then that's something that our communities will have to deal with.
I'm really happy you said that, Mr. Barr. That gives me assurance. Thank you.
All right, I'll just make sure that we're good. It appears we're good, Mr. Deputy. So I was going to say now to members of the public that we will now shift into the public portion of the public hearing. So I'll go over a few procedural matters for your benefit. Shortly, we'll be inviting anybody who wishes to speak to do so. There may be some online. I didn't check with County Clerk around that, but we'll make sure of that. So this is not a forum for debate or questions to council or administration. When you approach your speaking time, you'll be given 5 minutes to speak from the chair. I'll ask the county clerk for a signal at 1 minute or we have a clock, county clerk. You know, I think your technology, county clerk, is superior to ours. Usually we fire a flare in the air or something, whatever. So we appreciate that. So as you make your comments today, please state and spell your name for the record, provide your address, and indicate if you have already submitted a written response. When you are finished speaking, please stay at the microphone in case any members of councils have questions for you. You may raise matters for the benefit of council that they may take to administration after you have finished. But once again, this is not your opportunity to ask questions of council or debate with council at this point in time. So I will call now if there are anyone in council chambers who has questions or wishes to present, wishes to present.
Yeah, there it is.
Thank you, sir.
Never wanted to go first. Cameron Cook, 4706 43A Avenue in Red Deer, Alberta. Good afternoon, Mayor and Deputy Mayor, council members, and planning staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Again, my name is Cameron Cook. I represent a group called the Peacock Development Limited. We are a family-run company with deep roots in central Alberta and a long history of building thoughtful, community-based developments here. I am here to share a few words about a proposed project we'd like to call August Hills. This is a 24-lot country residential subdivision located just off Highway 11 and Range Road 265. We understand and respect the county and city's shared goals around the smart, sustainable growth. We know the concerns with urban sprawl, and the IDP is the key to long-term planning. With the IDP currently under review, we see an opportunity to work together. August Estates would work in harmony and complement the nearby communities of Balmoral and Stone Ridge Estates together to form a well-planned rural living area that fits within the Divide Hill structure plan. Our vision is simple: to help families live closer to nature on 2-acre lots while protecting natural features like hills, trees, and watercourses. This project will also support local trades, increase tax base, and meet the rising demand for rural living near Red Deer, Alberta. August Estates will be very appealing to the medical and business professionals who want to have a peaceful, spacious lifestyle while staying connected to Red Deer. The location offers quick access to the city's healthcare centers, business district, and major roads, making it ideal for the people who want the best of both worlds. Most importantly, we are committed to the collaboration. We don't want to go against the IDP. We want to align it with its future and direction and be a part of the process. Since our original meeting, January 7th, we've received a lot of interest from both builders and individuals who are excited about this kind of rural lifestyle. We believe August Estates will be a responsible, well-planned next step. It's guided by community values, deep respect for the land, and local policies. We simply just wanted to be asked to be considered within the IDP framework. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. There any members of councils have questions for Mr. Cook? Councillor Barnstable.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Cook. Just for clarity, when it comes to the IDP, are there concerns, or are you in agreement with it? Just following your comments about your proposed development, is there something within the IDP that you had concerns with, or is this something that you agree with and you're showing your support? I just wanted to clarify where you're at in terms of that.
Kind of twofold. We presented here in January the 7th and found that we had some of the councillors that were on board with this idea. However, when it fell with the IDP, they had to share with the IDP, which did not fall within what we were doing there. So do I support the IDP? Obviously, but I'd like to see an opportunity to be able to work within that framework as well.
So you're hoping for more specifics within the IDP? Is that what you're looking for? Okay. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Moore, please.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Cook, for coming today. I do remember you coming to council here. I don't have the maps in front of me, but what's the line? What's the where the proposed development is compared to the actual the growth line? Are we far out here, or are we close? Like, what's the new IDP? What would that be?
The land that we're looking at is just to the east of Range Road 265, and it borders in the north with Highway 11. So it's a little sliver. Unfortunately, I don't have any screens to show you, but it's a little sliver that's at the top, right opposite of Stone Ridge Estates, or right adjacent to Stone Ridge Estates.
I think my colleague here has maybe a map that I can just take a look at. Where are we? I just want the distance. So if we're talking like real close, or if we're talking miles away, because I do remember it was the IDP that really, informed our decision out of respect of that, statutory document. Maybe administration could help with how far out with the map.
I think Councillor Moore, if I might, we can bring that map up after the public's presentations. It is material, I think, to your line of questioning. Yes. So we can bring that. I'm sorry, Mr. Deputy.
Nope.
All right.
That would be fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson, and thank you, Mr. Cook, for coming in. I see you brought Cindy along with you. That's good. Just looking at this and looking for clarity in the process. So you came to the county and the rationale was the IDP didn't allow for that development. So I'm just trying to seek that type of clarity in how that process would align or not align with that, because we wouldn't have seen it in Red Deer City.
In our original meeting on the 7th, we were just going through my application here. It was a planning and use that we were going for to change the actual use. And as they went around, it was tendered by a couple of councillors that said it was not a bad idea. By the time we had circled the room, that wasn't the case, so we didn't get a second reading. And the majority of the comments were that it has fallen on the IDP. There were a couple of councillors here that said, if somebody wanted to pursue this, where would they go? So we had a secondary meeting with the city just to see what sort of guidelines we had, and they ended up putting us here and said that we should have a voice here. Is that fair?
Mr. Cook, can I have you just repeat that last sentence? A handicap of the chair, this chair, is age is caught up with my ears. So I remember you saying that you had a subsequent meeting with the city, and can you just repeat what you just said after that?
Yeah, we had a subsequent meeting. When we finished up the meeting here on January the 7th, a couple of the councillors said that if this wanted to be moved forward, given the I guess the two groups that this was between, they said that it would be in our best interest to meet with the city. So we did end up meeting with the city, and we were advised at that point that the meeting on the 16th would probably be the vehicle that we should move forward to.
Thank you. All right.
Councillor Kennett had a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Under the old IDP that is currently still in effect until this one, you, I believe, were inside the city growth area.
Mm-hmm.
And under the new proposed map, you would be in the agricultural area now.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And will that affect your ability or to move forward?
I don't believe so. As long as we can get the zoning changed.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Council, I'm not seeing any questions from Mr. Cook. Mr. Cook, thank you for appearing today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll now ask again for members of the public present. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the matter? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. I was saying, Mr. Cook, you're probably looking for a job with the planning department, but I'm not really sure. I was confused there. Oh. Wow, I'm glad that wasn't my chair.
Well, thank you, Council. Dan Bellick, 38480 Range Road 281, Red Deer County, Alberta. So I was born, raised, and lived in this restricted development area my entire life. And I've been living on the edge of development my entire life, and I've seen how slow development comes. I have participated in all these other documents that were spoken of today. And it's always amazed me how big an area that there has to be restricted around the city of Red Deer for potential development. I watched the Edgar Industrial Park take 25 years plus to develop. I'm adjacent to the Queens Industrial Park. It's been going phase one. It's going on 25 years of development without anything being fulfilled. I've watched phase two of the Queens Park be stripped and denuded of farmland. And there's been nothing happen there for at least 15 years, or well, 10 years, I guess. That was 2015, I think, when I participated in that one. And my question always is, why does the city have to make such a large push outside of its boundaries and restrict the activities of any potential farm activities around the city? The way I'm looking at here, this area, I have no idea. I'm not a planner, but I've been sitting here watching it my entire life. And as far as I can see, it'll be 100 years or more before this area ever gets used by the city of Red Deer. What would be the projected population of the city of Red Deer for it to come out to the extremities of this area that the city would like to protect from other development. And that's my thoughts in a nutshell. I've always felt this way. I've always participated in these things, and I wanted to share that with you. I think the reach is too far. We just had a party at the house again, Christine. We didn't invite you this time because it's just a Bylaw reunion. June 14th was exactly 105 years since my grandfather got that piece of land. So we've been sitting, we've been watching. It's going to take 100 years to use this land up or more. And I'm just wondering why that much land has to be protected from growth on the agricultural side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellick, and congratulations. 105 years, quite a high watermark, to say the very least. So thank you. Councils, are there questions of Mr. Bellick? Councillor Lee, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Bellick, for your comments, and you've been here a long time. I'm just curious when you say that you're being restricted from agricultural development. I don't understand that in terms of when we're talking about an IDP. So could you maybe just give me a little bit of clarity on that?
Well, and maybe I need some clarity too. But when I hear it say that within the certain areas, development will be discouraged in the farm area. So now what does that mean? If I decide to build a shed for my equipment or a hog operation or a dairy barn, and if it's 100 years away from the edge of the Red Deer, I don't know if it's a fair thing. It's not, like, I agree with all this planning. It's just that I've always thought that the outreach from the limits of the city has always been too far.
Mm-hmm. Those are my questions. I probably have comments after.
Yes, at the appropriate time, Councillor, we'll have comments.
Councillor DePalm?
So question, I guess, to administration from what Mr. Belk was talking about is how long, like all that area to the west.
Councillor DePalm, I think we're going to do questions to administration after we get all the speakers. So if you have any, just hold them.
Yeah, good catch. Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Thanks, Mr. Bellick, for coming today and stating your concerns. And I look forward to some questions with administration later so we can get some clarity, because it has to make sense for us to be able to defend what we're doing here today. So thank you for taking the time. It looks like you've been participating, as you say, for most of your life. So I thank you for your patience, and hopefully we'll get some clarity. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. I believe that that is it for questions of councils. Thank you, Mr. Bellick. And as Councillor Moore so ably said, we have an opportunity to ask questions of administration after hearing. So I'll invite again any member of the public that wishes to address the matter to please come forward. I'll go to the, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
For my learned colleague to my right-hand side here. Force of habit, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I just can't help myself.
No, that's all good. Is there anyone online or on the call?
I see the public.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Yep.
Is it? Oh man, no buttons to push. Okay. Vince Fluel, 196-28342 Township Road 384 in the Poplar Ridge area, and kind of in behind the Poplar Ridge School. If any of you guys have been in that awesome neck of the woods, next year will be 40 years that my wife and I have enjoyed that community and raised 4 amazing daughters, and now looking forward to some amazing grandkids. And because you guys, and thank golly, everybody was so sharp here talking, and I'm a ex-welder lawnmower guy now, which totally, I love what I do. But wow, and a little ragnecky, so a lot of you guys aren't going to be able to relate to me. But I don't even really. So you guys, thanks for letting me share a little bit, and I'm probably supposed to say thanks, mayors and all you guys. I'm not good at this kind of stuff, but because we've got an amazing little community, and a good friend of ours shared something on our little Shady Nook Poplar Ridge Facebook page that is pretty. That was awesome, and I remember you guys going 2000 that there was a bunch of an area structure plan, and supposedly 1,000 acres were still left subdividable and all that kind of stuff. And as a community, we went to meetings at the Poplar Ridge Hall, and I don't think this is kind of like the White House actually, but this facility was built, I don't think, but we went and teamed up together and basically kept our beautiful area the reason why we had moved out there years and years ago. But you guys, my question is, and then I'll shut up and get out of here, but my question is, so you know where I live, what could change in our area? Whether, I know there's not a Costco moving in there and what have you, but like if the city of Red, you guys, like we've got our own septic tanks and water wells, and a lot of us don't have enough water, but we're big rainwater collectors, which if you guys need any extra rainwater, come out to my house. We got containers full of it. So we kind of have always loved the land, and you guys were right. On a side note, we got probably 4 baby little skunks under our shed right now, and I'm feeding them cat food, and man, they are awesome. But what is back, you guys, back in 2000, and they were talking about city of Sylvan Lake, which is that's the town I grew up in, was eventually going to be getting Sylvan was going to be eventually getting the Red Deer water from the river, and that they had, in one of the talks at one of our meetings back in 2000, they're saying, well, eventually we would have city water, and most of us were not interested in city water, to be honest with you, because we love our well water and a little bit more healthier than what, we won't even go there, but my question is what could be some of the possible changes or maybe there is, and I'm not even too sure. I always we got to start reading between the lines or thinking for ourselves. So that's basically my question.
Thank you. Sir, you'll have to forgive me. I didn't catch your name, so if you could.
I'd love to. Vince, V-I-N-C-E, Fluel.
Thank you, Vince.
You're welcome.
Vince, we're going to take that question of yours into the administrative part of the meeting, just so you can get the answer from an administrative perspective, because there are a lot of answers there for you. I hope we get you answered. If we're not, we'll make sure we get you answered. So I appreciate that. Since does this conclude your presentation, Vince?
Yeah, and I'm sorry I took.
That's okay.
It's just about home time for everybody.
It's
sorry
all,
I took
no,
so
no.
long.
No, it's all good. I'll just have to remain to see if there's any questions from councillors and so on. I'm not seeing any, Vince, so I'll say stay on the good side of those skunks of yours. I'll say that. Stay on the good side.
Thanks so much, you guys, and thanks for no questions, because I don't know if I'd have the answer.
All good. We'll get that answered for you. All right. I'll say again, is there any member of the public that wishes to present? And I do see a member of the public. Come forward, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm one of Vinnie's neighbors. My name is Lori Skog. I live in Poplar Ridge, lived there for over 40 years. And we've had our little tensions there for sure. But you know, this meeting, we didn't get the county news until last week. Who is responsible for notifying the people, the constituents that are involved in this procedure to let us know? Who is responsible?
I can help with that, Lori, but I'll just say, before I get an answer to that, did you wish to speak to the IDP itself?
To who?
To the document itself, to the plan itself.
Okay, well, the document itself, what is the plan exactly for Poplar Ridge?
I'm going to defer that to admin and the county admin and so on, and any county councilors at that time I think would be welcome on it. I'll go to to the county clerk or county manager to speak about the advertising around the item. So if did you wish to speak to that, county clerk?
Most certainly, through the CAOs to the mayors, we can provide that we've advertised in accordance with the County of Red Deer's advertisement bylaw, which requires us to post notice on the website for 4 weeks, which was completed, as well as notice in the county news. And notice in the county news, we ensure that we have 7 days from the date of mailing to ensure that you receive that mailing and have the opportunity to read it. And that's in accordance with the Interpretation Act, which requires us to ensure that you've had time to get your mail. And that's the amount of time that they require us to utilize. The City of Red Deer utilizes the Municipal Government Act Section 606, which requires them to advertise it for 2 consecutive weeks in a newspaper. So that was done through the Red Deer Advocate. So those were the advertising methods primarily utilized for this. The City of Red Deer also goes the extra step to advertise on their website as well. And we also conducted some news releases and some online posts. So we did do the advertisement in accordance with legislation as well as additional advertising.
Well, with the mail system, the county news didn't get to our house until just a few days before the meeting, like about a week maximum. And I tried to notify a lot of the neighbors. They had no clue. And we don't all have access to computers. We don't all read the web page every day. And like the oil field people, they have to send us a letter within a certain frame. Is that a possibility? I don't know what the answer is, but I know all you brilliant people here, all you, you know the answers. So I'd really like that to be, or put it in our mailboxes, just a flyer would be helpful.
Thank you, Lori.
But
Thank you.
Anyhow, one thing, what is the plan for Poplar Ridge? I think we from Poplar Ridge are really quite anxious when we saw that our little subdivision is included in that little red line.
Sure. I think what I'll do, Lori, is defer that. If hopefully you're going to remain with us. We'll defer that to admin today, so at least we'll get a discussion. We won't get a fulsome discussion on, I doubt it, unless my county colleagues want to jump in, on Poplar Ridge itself, but we will talk about it in the context of the IDP, in the context of this document. That you can be assured of.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Lori, we appreciate it. All right, I will ask again for any member of the public who wishes to speak, please come forward.
Is there anyone online that wishes to make comment?
To the mayors, there most certainly is one attendee online, and just to that attendee, if you are interested in speaking, please send a message to Red Deer County through the chat function, and we will turn on your microphone if you're interested in speaking. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess calling for a second time. Is there anyone in the gallery wishing to speak or online wishing to speak to this matter? No indication, Ms. Rodwell? Okay, and for a third and final time then, is there anyone in the gallery or online that would like to speak to this matter? And still nothing online? Mayor Ken?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'd recommend we just call it a bio break, and then we'll get to the administrative questions. Just for 5 minutes or something.
Yep. So, confirming that no more persons have indicated they wish to speak to this matter, I guess before we get into questions, maybe just a quick recess, I think, is what Mayor Ken was requesting. So, it's 4:20 now, so we will recess until 4:30. That gives everyone 10 minutes, and just note that council has not made a decision, and council will not be available to speak to members of the public during the recess.
All right.
We will call the public hearing back to order. We're now at the time for questions of administration based on matters that were raised during the public hearing. So I don't know if we want to start on this side of the circle first, or Councillor Barnstable, any questions?
Yeah, I was just, sorry, let me just regather myself here.
We can move on too if you want to wait.
Yeah, maybe just come back around to me. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor DePalm?
Yeah, I do have a question, and it goes back to what Mr. Bellick was saying. So I guess, how long does that area on the west side, on the east side, there's not as much, but on the west side and down to the south, like what is the prediction for people to actually move out there and build and take up that land?
Through the mayor's to council, if I could just get some clarity, do you mean within the city's current boundary, or do you mean within that city growth area in the IDP?
The city growth area.
So through the mayor's to council, we don't have a definitive timeline, but the extent of that area, I think the last time I calculated, it was in like the 120-year range to consume all of the land within the city growth area. So it is very far out, and the idea is that the land is being held in terms until such times that urbanization needs to move out into that area. That would first be led by annexation first, and then development as a city lands. So that city growth area, and that's part of the reason why we removed the collaborative planning area from the IDP, was that we recognized that we didn't need all that extra land that was even beyond the current city growth area.
Okay, I get that, but even from what Mr. Bellick said, he's lived out there how long? And I know other 100-year farms out there that have been there for that length of time, and there hasn't been the growth out there. So I guess, what are your predictors to think that they're in that time frame, that's all going to be used up if it hasn't? There's been no growth past Highway 2.
Through the mayor to council. So at one point when our current IDP was developed, we were growing at 5.5%, and we thought we were going to consume and annex all of that city growth area by 2017 was the date we had listed. That time has since come and gone. We slowed down, and 5% growth year over year is not realistic. At this time, the city is at a slower growth rate, and so our current land supply will last us much longer than what we thought was going to be about 20 years at the time. And so we've seen that in our annual meetings when we come, and that year keeps staying at 18 years, 18 years, 18 years. And that formula was not reflective of our current growth. And so I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you it's going to be exactly this many years, but it is very much dependent on growth.
Okay, I have another question then.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what would be the harm in taking it down to the 2 quarters on the east side? Because it does prevent people from doing certain things out there for agriculture wise.
Through the mayor to council, there would likely be risk in the long-term growth to the city, and so we've maintained the same city growth area but we did reduce the collaborative growth area to reflect that reduced growth rate. So administrations would have to go back and have a further look and determine what that impact would be to the city and the county long term.
Okay, but I guess in 4 years, if there is no growth on the other side, it could be re-looked at and adjusted?
Through the mayor to council, the IDP can always be amended, and there is no plan for an annexation of any of those lands within a 4-year time frame.
Okay, I guess the other question would be just, I'd have to reread what it does to the agriculture society out there with being in the county or the city growth area.
Councillor Baruma, we'll catch you on the way back. We'll try and go around to make it easy. There's a lot of people here today.
To administration, I'm just wondering, in the development that was identified by Peacock Development, how is there flexibility within the plans in terms of them moving forward with that? If particularly if there are changes in those boundaries. So how does administration see being able to address some of the concerns and issues that they've brought forward to today?
So through the mayor to Councillor Baruma. So in this particular situation, the parcel in question was just on the edge of the city growth area, within what was formerly the collaborative planning area. It's now within the ag rural area. In order for it to be considered, the MDP, or the IDP, I should say, in this particular case, is allows for consideration of area structure plans, area redevelopment plans that are mutually beneficial to both municipalities. So again, it's one of those things that would first come to council or to RCC for consideration, and from there there'd be a recommendation. Would come back and go from there. So there's nothing saying that it couldn't come forward under this iteration of this IDP. That very much could happen. It's up to the applicant to apply for an area structure plan. Where it gets a little bit interesting is it also has to comply with the county's municipal development plans, as well as in our policies. So our policies direct country residential development to specific areas within our municipality, so to urban growth areas adjacent to, et cetera, or areas that already have, that are identified within existing area structure plans. We have plenty of area structure plans that have some country residential that is allowed within them, including Divide Hills. So in this particular case, the applicant could either amend the existing area structure plan to pull in their land into the Divide Hills ASP, or have a separate area structure plan. But these are other considerations, not just the IDP, that would have to come into play in further consultation or consideration of that area structure plan.
So when developers are doing investments and they are for the longer term, is there precedent? Is that something that happens on a regular basis? Because they're not certain when that development necessarily can take place. So is there precedent? Does that happen regularly in regards to being able to move forward with that within the confines of either or both municipalities?
So through the mayor to Councilor Buruzma, not so much in terms of precedent, I would have to say. Up to this point, we haven't, because our IDP has been pretty controlling in terms of new area structure plans. This one gives a bit of a window of consideration, but up to this point, I don't think there's been a ton of tweaking in terms of allowing for area structure plans or expansion of. We've had in the past applications that have come forward where they've either wanted to create a new area structure plan or expand a boundary of one, and those have been met with opposition, let's put it that way, in terms of whether or not that would happen.
Is that opposition by residents or by the municipality itself?
In those two particular cases, the opposition came from the city.
Councillor Holzman?
Thank you. I guess I have to ask the question for Vince and Lori. What difference will it make for Poplar Ridge? Because how I see it, it fits into sort of where Balmoral is right now, or some of the other subdivisions we have. So could you comment on that for the two citizens that came forward, please?
Absolutely. So the one thing we don't want is to strike fear into our constituents. When they see and hear the word plan, they may be thinking that we have a plan for their specific area. This IDP is at the highest level in terms of our hierarchy, and what it really does at the end of the day is provide rules as to how, or we're going to work with each other within a specific plan area between the two municipalities. How we're going to play nice in the sandbox, in other words. How we would consider developments that might come forward. What it does not do, it does not authorize development. So as much as I understand, and it's scary, you see yourself in a plan area and oh my goodness, the first thing that comes up is they're going to change what I can do out there. That this plan absolutely does not do that. It does allow for consideration of specific developments that may come forward, and there's a process, and it gives that process, but it does not specify specific development within this plan area at all. So I just want to reiterate to those who are concerned that they should not have a concern about anything happening to Poplar Ridge at this point.
Thank you. That was what I was going to hope, that you would say, that it would stay, and if the process ever did come about, it would be a public hearing, and it would go through the whole thing again so that they would have anything. But at this time, nothing is going to change. Thank you.
Councillor Dorkson? Councillor Kennett?
Yeah, and just to follow up on what you just talked about there, that applies for any area, if it's Balmorals or Divide Hills or Springvale Heights, any of those. It's not your area is going to be annexed and wiped out. It's just in the area, and potentially one day down the road there could be something come in as simple as water lines for everyone. So if I understand, that's what you mean by that.
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, with some of the areas that you had mentioned, they have their own area structure plans. Divide Hills does not have that at this particular point, or not Divide Hills, Poplar Ridge. But those areas that are already planned, they have their own plans. This plan, the IDP recognizes those plans. Yeah, that's about all I can add to that.
Thank you.
Councillor Hyam? Oh, I think we'll just continue around and.
Thank you very much. So I did want to return to the question that Mr. Cook had raised with Peacock Developments. Please forgive me, I'm a little disadvantaged. I don't understand exactly the situation, but I think you had mentioned that the proposal was initially inside the city's growth area, but now under the proposed IDP, it falls outside the city's growth area and into ag designation, correct? And could you just comment on, it sounds like they have concerns around having to move this project forward, potentially if the designation is in the future going to be ag with restrictions on ag. So just help us understand what some of those concerns would be.
So as far as I can recollect, and somebody can, yes, mapping would be very helpful at this point. Thank you. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that what I'm speaking to here is speaking to truth. So the parcel that we're talking about was formerly located within what was called the collaborative planning area. It's within the IDP, but within a collaborative planning area, okay, not within the city's growth area. Okay. That said, it's still within the IDP itself. And within the IDP itself, it's discouraging certain types of development, and it forces people that have land within that particular area to essentially come to the county and to the city to see whether or not we could support a specific development within those particular areas. So that is a layer of bureaucracy, if you want to call it anything, that they would have to go through.
Mr. Barr, just 1 second. Ms. Rodwell, did we lose the stream?
We just have one, the TV that you're looking at is just off right now. We're just trying to get it back on.
Okay, well, as long as we're still live, yeah, I think we're okay to continue. Sorry, Mr. Barr.
No, it's okay. I think we're good. So with this new IDP, it hasn't really changed too much other than the fact that we're now talking about the ag rural area. And again, it kind of discourages area structure plans within those particular areas. So they're still faced with that. That said, they do have the opportunity to apply for an area structure plan, and that again gets filtered through the RCC to have a discussion. And from there, whether or not the RCC can come to an agreement as to whether or not either side could potentially support that area structure plan, we would have to get that input before we could proceed further.
So can I ask, would they have to amend the existing ASP if this parcel would have remained in the collaborative area? Or does it need an amendment either way, whether it's an ag or collaborative, it would need an amendment?
So through the mayor, Councillor Hyam. So they have some options. One being either amend the existing area structure plan to pull the boundary over and take their land into it, or to come up with an area structure plan for the quarter section, but really planning for their specific piece at the end of the day. So there's two options that they have available to them. It's not necessarily that they have to amend the divide hills, but it might be, it might be beneficial to do that, just given the proximity to, as Councillor Moore had stated, development that's directly adjacent to it.
I mean, again, we're not familiar with this. It hasn't come before Red Deer City Council. So I guess the bottom line for me is, does it disadvantage this developer to make the change, to take them out of the collaborative into the ag? Does it create hurdles or create obstacles? Not that, you know, we're adverse necessarily to doing it. I'm just asking the question.
Through the mayor to council. So within the collaborative area, there is a lot less flexibility than in our new IDP. The new IDP provides more avenues for them to pursue. Two pieces, being one was the one that was questioned about earlier, was that, you know, mutually beneficial to both councils. So it gives you all of the more flexibility you need to be able to make that decision when it comes before you. Secondly, is that there's an outline process on how to amend the IDP. There is still the hurdle of amending the county IDP first, county MDP first, but it is a more clear avenue as to how an external applicant can make a change to the IDP if needed. But that might not be necessary.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I just wanted to satisfy, you know, both councils that the changes being proposed in the IDP don't, you know, inordinately negatively affect any existing plans that, you know, were in place and that were before councils. So thank you. That one is answered, and I think you asked the question about the Poplar Ridge. So those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Councillor Massier.
Thanks, Mr. Chairs. Interesting, does the IDP prevent change in development in the IDP area from the old one to the new one? My question is going to be, does this new IDP prevent me from doing anything different on my agricultural land if it's an agricultural use? I heard that the IDP is preventing me from doing something on my agricultural land. Does the IDP do anything to prevent me from doing agricultural use of my agricultural land? And I'm not talking about CFOs and minimum distance, because that's set at a different level of government, but does this new IDP prevent me from doing ag things on my ag land?
So the mayor to Councillor Massier. So in the counties, or in the city's growth area and within the ag rural area, it supports agricultural activities within those particular areas. Will it support somebody wanting to develop their land for country residential purposes or for commercial or industrial? No, it doesn't do that. But it does support existing agricultural operations to continue to do that within that area. If they want to build a building, they can do that. If they want to replace their garage, they can do that. If their house burns down, they can replace that. Not a problem. Where it gets a little more difficult is new confined feeding operations. So that's something that is not supported within the urban fringe area or within the growth area, I should say.
Thank you. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you very much. That was my question as well, and it's been answered. Thanks.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. So I do have a few because, you know, this document is designed to serve both the county and the city and therefore our residents. So here we have Mr. Bylaw, who has been sort of sterilised for so long, but nothing's happening. And then we have Peacock Developments who want to be included so that they can do something. And it just isn't working right now. I think we need to have a look here about what is realistic what is the realistic development plan? Because just listening to Mr. Ballock's comments, nothing's happened, but he's almost frozen in time, waiting for what? So how is that serving the residents? And how are we serving development that actually fits really well, because there's Stone Ridge Estates right next door to the proposed August Estates. So it doesn't make sense to me. And it was the IDP as it was that prevented us from saying yes to this development. Well, it was the city who had an issue, but now we have a new IDP. But I'm hearing that maybe they have to go into a new area structure plan, or ask to be rezoned from ag to country residential. What would be the easiest path so that we're resident friendly here? I think we're missing the mark here. We're not serving the people, and we've got two examples here of one that wants to be included and one that wants to get out so they can get on with the farming operations or whatever they would like to do. So there are my comments, and there is a few questions in there, so thank you for indulging me. But I think we need to look at this because it's been brought forward to us. And what would that process be? There's my question. Thank you.
I'm sorry, could we get that question again, please?
What can we do right now, since we've heard from the people, right? That we have two situations that I've compared, that it isn't serving either person who is, is that what is the process for us to maybe look at this so that Mr. Belloc maybe doesn't have as much land that is essentially sterilised, and Peacock Developments can maybe look at developing something that fits really well in the area that has been prevented because it didn't agree with the IDP, which we all want to respect, because that's our job, to respect each other's views on this IDP document. So that's my question. What can we do?
So through the mayors to all of both councils, I'll start at the high level in that it is a requirement of our provincial government to have an intermunicipal development plan. Secondly, to get down to the detail of the two that are here, if I heard correctly from Mr. Belloc, it is the ability to continue on with agricultural purposes, and that is being allowed through the intermunicipal development plan. And Mr. Barr did clarify that he would be able to build a shed or an extra farm building or those pieces. We do have a joint administrative committee that does meet and look through applications for development that do come in the growth area. And they've done a great job at being reasonable with what has come in, and they've had RV storage areas that have been able to continue. They've had other development applications where they've met as administrations and said this is reasonable within the growth area and when the city is expected to get there. So it has been beneficial. When it comes to the development by Mr. Cook that is proposed, this current IDP serves them in a better way than the old IDP. And if I'm to be very black and white around it, the old IDP, we would be saying no. Where the new IDP at least allows them to have a process to work through, to have it considered on a case-by-case basis. And I think that is a big win for the new IDP, in that it is much more beneficial in considering what does come forward and some of those unique needs and ideas that may come forward from residents within the county as well as the city.
Thank you for that, City Manager Ludwig. Just a follow-up question on the calculation of land for the city growth area, especially regarding Mr. Belloc's case. How is that calculated? I know we talked about growth from years ago that was estimated that never actually ever happened. So do we ever look at it and think this isn't going to happen, so let's readjust this?
Through the mayor to council. So it used to be based on an average of the 10-year growth rate, the 10-year annual growth rate. And we would say We would look at the city footprint based on where we occupy for all residential, industrial, and commercial uses. And then we would divide what we have left over. And when I say leftover, it's our A1, our future urban growth areas. So those lands that are zoned A1. And we say, how long is that going to last us based on what our current footprint looks like? And also based on that 10-year average. And so what we saw was that our annual reviews was that we would say, well, we got about 20 years, 22 years, 18 years, and it kind of always hovered there, and it wasn't a great formula. Some of the things that have changed too is that we are trying to make better use of our land, right? So part of the requirement in the old IDP was for the city to use residential land 20% more efficiently, and we have been doing that. We did increase our minimum density requirements from 14.8 to 17 during that time, and we're still looking at opportunities for more gentle density within the city. So we are getting better at how we use our land, and as well as having a reduced growth rate. And so that's part of the reason why the IDP no longer has the collaborative growth areas, that the cities looked at it and said, that's a lot of land that's being held up in an IDP that is not really realistic beyond, well, I don't know if it's 100 years or 150 years. I don't know if I answered your question, Councillor, but I'm happy to answer more.
I guess, am I understanding that because you're using land more efficiently, which is great, that growth area would be reduced accordingly? No.
Through the mayors to Councillor Moore, no, the city growth areas remain the same as it did since the last IDP. We left it unchanged. The city and county growth areas have remained unchanged.
So I guess my point is, if we are using land more efficiently, that would reduce the projection. So why isn't that reflected in the IDP?
Through the mayor to Councillor Moore, it is. That's why we removed the collaborative planning area. So the collaborative planning area was kind of the next stage out, and so we've removed that from the plan entirely. It's a huge area. I don't know how many acres it is or how many sections of land it is, but.
Okay, pardon me then. So I'm confused between I do remember the collaborative area and the growth area is different by quite a lot, am I hearing?
Through the mayor to council, I'm just going to ask for some clarity in terms of what you mean by they're different.
The amount of land in the area.
Through the mayor to council. So the IDP area is smaller than it used to be, if that's.
It's smaller.
Yes.
Thank you. I
Sorry.
appreciate your patience.
No, my apologies.
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder, this is the time for questions, not comments, as we will be having the opportunity to debate this at a later date. Yeah, we'll continue around quick. I appreciate his patience, just trying to give everyone the same opportunity. Councillor Cron? Councillor Lee?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, just a couple questions. Just because of the questions that are coming from the public, I mean, there's a bunch of us on RCC that sit around this table that actually had the same questions as many of your residents and our residents have. So just for greater clarity, so the IDP document itself is really, is it not just a tool to give guidelines and a framework for growth development? It's not specific to any type of development or any type of application coming forward to the city or the county, because we don't make decisions at RCC, correct?
I'm assuming, Councillor Lee, that is a question.
That is a
for
question. Yeah,
administration?
it's a question for clarity for the public, to be honest with you.
Through the mayor to council, yes, RCC is not a decision-making body. It is a place for the municipalities to meet and have discussions on matters that are mutually interest to both of the parties.
And when those issues come up, and a few examples were brought here today, when those issues come up, how do our respective councils deal with those? Do they bring them back to their councils for reflection and decision-making, or how is that process held? Because I just want to make sure the public is absolutely clear. The RCC is not a decision-making body, so I just want to know that, just reiterate that process for the public.
Through the mayor to council, I do know that our CAOs reflect or share back the messaging that is shared at RCC back to the broader councils. I know we use ours as through Tara's tidbits, and the council receives them as a whole at the end of the week. In terms of decision making would come forward in terms of if there's an application to the respective council in which it impacts. Generally, when it's at the city, what happens is that it's a request whether we agree to something or not, and that has happened on a handful of occasions. And in the new IDP, the process is a lot more clear, whereas it's often, if something is occurring, it's usually in city growth area, which is still within the purview of the county and the county's MDP, and so it is county council that makes those decisions.
And my final question at this point would be, so for those two individuals that came up, Mr. Bellick and Mr. Cook, will they be approached in terms of given what specific actions they would need to take to advance their concerns forward, not from an IDP perspective, but from their own individual development perspectives?
Through the mayor to council, administrations, I believe on both sides, are happy to meet with anybody from the public and give them their options. I think it's, for Mr. Cook, would be best served once the new IDP, or if a new IDP is adopted, and he will have his window will open a little bit bigger, and he'll have some more opportunities to him. And I believe, if I understand right, Mr. Bellick, is that he can continue to practice agricultural practices on a property, and there are no impacts so long as he's meeting the county MDP and the county bylaws, if I'm right. Is that right, Ron?
Yeah, not much more to add. I mean, we are more than available for them to come in and both parties to have a discussion to see what their options are for sure, and then proceed from there. So,
yeah, and I think specifically he just mentioned him wanting to put up a shed. He was restricted from bringing up a shed. I think that was clarified that he can absolutely do that. But I mean, I don't know the extremes of the agricultural, so I know he couldn't put a hog operation there. So just that clarity providing to him, because he came to a public hearing seeking that clarity.
Yeah, through the mayors to Councilor Lee, just without knowing the specifics of this parcel itself, potentially, we'd have to look to see what his actual parcel looks like.
Fair enough. Back to you, Deputy.
Thank you. Councillor Weincheese?
Thank you, colleagues. My questions have been answered.
Thank you. Councillor Barnstable, appreciate your patience.
Thank you. That's just a good indication to be ready to go when you come back from grabbing a cookie. No, my questions have mostly been asked too. I don't want to belabor the point, but I just want more clarity. If something comes forward as far as the proposed development into the city's growth area, at this point, until the city were to annex any of that land, which in and of itself is quite a long-lasting process that takes 2 to 5 years, anything that happens within that growth area currently will all fall to the county, to anything that needs to be approved, zoning, developments, unless that land then becomes part of the city, but only after an annexation process. Or if someone wants to develop something within that boundary, does it still come forward to the city for clarity and voting, or is it just strictly on the county until that land is annexed?
Through the mayor to council, yes, mostly, but the IDP does request, or does indicate that many of the items are sent to our joint planning committee, where items are discussed so that the city can have weigh in on the decision making, or at least provide comment to the decision making process in terms of what the long-term impacts might be to those lands and holding them for future annexations or for future urban development.
Perfect. So when you say provide comment, that doesn't actually come forward to council. That's more of an administration piece where they can provide feedback and comments. Council would be unlikely to see anything that comes forward in that growth area if we don't have those lands annexed.
Through the mayor to council, that's right. It is an administrative function. If a area structure plan were to come forward, I believe that would go to council as well for your comments to weigh in on the matter for county council to consider.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mayor Johnson, any questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. The questions were certainly asked on my behalf, so thank you.
Okay, so if everyone is satisfied, we will now declare the public hearing closed. As was stated at the beginning of the proceedings, this matter will not be considered today. Each council is scheduled to consider second reading at their next regular council meeting. For the city of Red Deer, that will be,
the county clerk just alerted me to something.
So through the mayors, we just wanted to clarify before you close as to what next steps are. As we all know, the ultimate goal is that we have a document that is shared by the county and therefore by the county and city, and therefore it needs to be the same. So while the public hearing will close today, individual second and third readings will happen with each of your councils. Now, if there were amendments that were to come, say, at your second reading or at the city's second reading, we would then need to make sure that there is process so that at the end of the day, the third readings are the same between the councils. The other option that city and county councils have is to adopt the IDP as presented and then refer a batch of amendments that are suggested by both city and county councils to the Regional Collaboration Committee to work through over the next year. As we know, there are some items that were presented, and even what you heard today from the gallery, of things that are hoping for the IDP to get completed so they can proceed into the next steps. So that is an option that could be presented to both councils. So as we go through, if we do not, so if city council passes second and third reading of a document and the city passes, or the county passes second and third reading and they're different, then they're both null and void. So we would just want to avoid that. Also, if there's any amendments that come forward that are substantive in nature, then we would have to re-advertise and have another joint public hearing. And so I just wanted to raise those for both councils as well as for public information for those in the gallery today, so they can understand what next steps would be. Anything did I miss? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we're clear on how we're moving forward. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. So just a question on that process. If we decided to both pass the IDP and then any suggested amendments went to RCC and they would be discussed there, both councils would still have an opportunity for that to come back to us so that we wouldn't be relinquishing any of the authority to make those amendments if it was voted accordingly by each council.
So through the mayors to council, when we have the Regional Collaboration Committee, there's great benefit there in that we have that regular open line of discussion between the city and county. There are no decisions made at RCC. There are recommendations and information that is then shared back to your full councils. There is then the process and the procedures that happen with your councils that are followed. So if there's any consultation, another joint public hearing, that would all be part of that process. But RCC is that nimble, open line of communication to get information back to both councils to make decisions.
Thanks for the clarity, Ms. Lodwick. Is everyone else okay on next steps? Not seeing any hands. So as a reminder, council members will not be able to receive any additional information between the close of this hearing and voting on the bylaw. And this would include any additional information from the public or administration. Mayor Johnson. Councillor Massier.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Deputy. I'm going to guess that the city's already made some amendments at their first reading, that we'd have the opportunity to make the same amendments at our second reading. And I also heard you say that we're not allowed to gather more information once the public hearing's closed, and that it'll be coming in front of us at council. Did I hear you say the next council meeting, or do you know when this is coming back to council? I do believe we're meeting as soon as tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not on tomorrow's agenda, but the following agenda, and in line with the city's timing. And I think there was one more question in there. Did it? We're good? Okay. You heard some nods, good.
Through the CAOs to the mayor and deputy mayor, Councillor Massier asked about amendments for county council to make its second reading, and most certainly the county council would have the opportunity to do so. Those are not substantive amendments. Those are more grammatical corrections within the MDP, so they do not require us to go back to public hearing, and they were fully advertised in today's agenda as through track changes, as Anna noted in the cover report for this matter.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as there's no further business, I declare this meeting of Red Deer City Council adjourned.
And same on the county side, that there's no No further business, so I would declare this meeting of Red Deer County Council adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming today.